Gato panting. Just calm down. Breathe. Setting it up. Okay. And I believe we are live. Okay, awesome. Let me just X out of the screen so it doesn't play back. Okay. Hey, everybody. Woo! Here I am with Chrissy Brady-Smith. This is the first episode of the 50 Shades of Truth live series. And I am so excited to have Chrissy as our first guest on the show. She is a dear friend of mine and someone who I really have so much respect and love for inside of the industry. And I'm so excited to introduce her to you guys, to take you behind the scenes inside of her life, her business, what success looks and feels like to her, and all of the juicy stuff in between. So for those of you who do not know Chrissy, I'm going to explain this in my own words, and then I'll let her share how she views herself. But I see Chrissy as this incredibly compassionate and fierce leader who holds such a sacred space for women and really empowers them to show up as the truest, most authentic versions of themselves, and really to just claim their power in such an authentic, I know it's a buzzword, but authentic way. And I really think that you just facilitate such deep and transformational work. And I am just in awe of all that you put out into the world and all that you stand for. So thank you for being here. And maybe in your own words, you can share a little bit more about who it is that you serve and what your business is all about.
Thank you. I can't believe I'm the first one in this series.
I know, it's so exciting.
When you told me you were putting this out there, because all I really care about in the business world is authenticity. And this sounds like the most authentic series that is out there. So hi, Brady-Smith. I'm a women's empowerment coach. That's what I call myself. Some call me a heart worker because I really focus on this area, the heart center of women entrepreneurs, women leaders, wild women. I love that archetype of the wild woman. And I believe when a woman really knows who she is at the core, she makes better choices. And those choices impact her relationships, her career, and the life at large. And I lead workshops and retreats. They're rite of passage weekend where women are invited, and men too. I also work with men, but women in particular are invited to face a particular struggle that's been keeping them up at night. And then the nature of a rite of passage is that they face it, they feel it all the way through, and then it releases, and then something new, a new expression of who they're really meant to be grows on the other side of that. And I'm a huge fan of archetypes. I help women learn to integrate all the different layers and ranges of the feminine inside of their bodies and inside of their being so they can be whole women. And when I work with women entrepreneurs in particular, I'm helping them with the ups and downs of running a business, emotional ups and downs of running a business, because let's face it, it's not that easy.
No.
And so I really teach these women how to face their demons with love. So from anxiety, fear, shame, and I help them be vulnerable. And after we do all that really deep healing work and they let go of who they thought they were meant to be and they step into who they really are, that's when they get clear on what their message is, who they're meant to serve, and it's just more real. So I help women be real and free.
I love it. Amazing. Perfect nutshell. Amazing. Cato's next to me. He's crying. So we're getting real and raw, the behind the scenes of an entrepreneur. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. So I want to dive in and just first thing that I'm thinking about here, I know it's a little off cuff because we talked a little bit about a couple things that I wanted to ask you, but when you first got started in the coaching industry, what prompted you or inspired you to dive into this space, and has it remained true for you, like what that calling was initially, or has it evolved along the way? Like where did you start off and where do you feel like you are now?
Oh, this is juicy. So my whole life, I've really been a seeker. I've always been seeking the truth ever since I was 4, and I've always really wanted to know myself. And so I've done a number of transformational courses and retreats. And it was actually 6 years ago that I did this workshop called Core Woman. It was formerly Celebration of Women, and it's the workshop that I lead now. But I did that workshop, and it was that weekend that I I got to do the deeper healing, like going beyond the thoughts, going beyond the stories, going beyond the forgiveness, but actually going into my body and healing from sexual abuse from my past, from like boyfriends who had cheated on me. And I got to go into the cells of my being. And the other side of that was me, was like this woman who had a voice. I totally claimed my voice there. I learned how to dance without like alcohol. I learned how to just love myself. And at the end of that weekend, I was like, I need to learn how to lead this. I used to be a teacher. I was a teacher at the time. I had my master's and I was totally great. I was a kindergarten teacher. Yeah, I was a kindergarten teacher then. But after this weekend, I was like, I have to. There was this pull in my heart that told me you must learn how to lead this work and share this with all the women you know. So I really went on a journey to do their leadership training. And then I learned how to coach. I got certified in a couple of different trainings, focusing on somatic experiencing, which is how to heal trauma in the body, and also inner child work and shadow work, as well as just how to hold a big space, like how to facilitate a group, and how to speak in front of a group, because there's so much that comes up before doing that. And then I was like, okay, I have all the skills. How do I make a business out of this? So I started really just working for free, pro bono, working with friends, women who were in my women's circles. And then by word of mouth, I just started developing my confidence. And then I signed up for a number of different programs. And I worked with one coach for about 4 years. I know you know her, because that's where I met you. And that's where I learned how to start a business. And I started going down a weird road after that, because I learned that there was only one way to have a successful business. And that was to have know your target market, what's going to make you money. And if you're not doing this, boom, you're done. And so there was one point where I started business coaching, 2 years into that.
I remember that.
That was so not me.
No.
So not me. But the good thing about business coaching is that I help women get really clear on what their purpose was. And all I really care about is purpose. And it doesn't have to be being a coach. I worked with women who started supporting women in the sex industry and how to help them transition out of that field. I've worked with women in the teaching field who wanted to bring more mindfulness to their kids. I helped a PhD student, and then I'm like, wait, this isn't me. I realized all my newsletters I had to really force during that time.
Yes. Oh, I love that. So that's like a red light, stop, wait, or red flag, and yeah.
All the red flags of I lost all the turn on in my body. My relationships started struggling because that wasn't working. I lost all of the flow. I wasn't excited to wake up and get my work done in the world. I'm like, okay, something needs to change.
Yes, I love that. And so what did it really take? Or was there any point where you're like, holy shit, this is a wake up call, there's something off here? Or was it just little breadcrumbs that you're like, okay, this feels a little off, little off, little off? What was it for you that really made you realize okay, it's time to actually pause and pivot, or return back to what it was originally that I started off trying to do?
Exactly. So I decided to really sit down with myself and get quiet. I'm a huge fan of meditation and just really listening to my own ancient wisdom. And I got to see in a meditation one day that all my creativity was gone. Where was my creative energy? And so I was like, wait, none of this is me. This isn't me. So I went on this vacation and I turned off Wi-Fi. I turned off everything. And I was like, what am I really passionate about? Who am I really? And that's when I started turning on music that I really loved. And I got my girlfriends together and we started dancing and creating. And then I was like, wait, who I am is a wild woman. And the wild woman knows how to say no to what doesn't serve her and yes to herself. And she has really healthy boundaries. And I realized the wild woman was not a business coach.
That's so great. Oh, I love that. And so how long ago was 2 years ago that you realized this? Okay, perfect. And so since then, in these past 2 years, how has your business evolved and grown? And how have you come back to what I like to call your true north, which is really being in alignment with your vision, your mission, and your why? And maybe you can share a little bit more about what that means to you.
Yeah. So a value of mine is vulnerability. I believe a woman's vulnerability is her greatest gift. When we're vulnerable in our relationships, miracles happen. When we're vulnerable online, miracles happen. This is what creates this space of trust. And so when last year, when I just went out on a limb, I'm like, this is me. I am the wild woman entrepreneur, and I'm going to share myself vulnerably online. And so I went to Bali, and I think you remember that first really big vulnerable post of mine when I started speaking out about my own sexual trauma from the past. And so when I was 21, I was studying abroad, and I was roofied and I was raped. And this was a story that stayed with me for a while that I was never really able to heal until I did that workshop, Core Woman. And then I got this pull when I went to Bali, because the nature of that island, it's so feminine. You can really hear what you were too busy to hear at home. And that's when I heard the call that it's time to share your story, because this has really made you who you are. This has made you be able to hold a really, really big space for women, and to be able to hold women's darkness. So I decided to share it. And I shared the story of how I healed from that experience, and how I travel now, how I set up healthy boundaries. And I was literally lifted by a force that was greater than myself that day when I posted it. And it wasn't easy. I had to move through a ton of resistance. But after I posted that, the intention wasn't to get clients. The intention wasn't to make my business work. But naturally, I got a lot of new clients from that, because women just got to know my real heart and they could trust me. But the most important part about that journey is that now I'm very, very open about everything I've healed sexually in my journey. And this has created a ripple effect of healing out in my community. And like, my blogs have gone viral. I've had parents of friends reach out to me saying, thank you so much for sharing your story, because now I know how to be with my daughter, because she told me that she was raped years ago and I didn't know how to be with her. Now I know all she needed was for me to hear. And so that's all I need to hear. I don't need to make money from this. That's the kind of mission that I'm up to.
That's amazing. And I love that so, so much. And so as you've gotten more tapped into your mission and your vision and your why in this world, like you just mentioned, a byproduct of that was getting more clients. You were not intentionally trying to do that. And I'm sure that there were things that you were told in the past, like certain rules or like must-dos in the industry. And I'd love to hear like some things that you were told, like you have to do in order to be successful, that maybe you were like, okay, I'll try it, and they didn't really work. And instead, how you've created your own rules and created success on your own terms.
Oh, yes. Okay. So as you can probably tell, I do not have an ideal client. That is something that I've been told that I need to have. When I tried to narrow it down to that exact person, that's when I really, really, really suffered. But now that I just get to be me, the people who are drawn to my message naturally want to work with me, and all of those women are different. So some women are in corporate, some women are entrepreneurs, some are mothers, some are teenagers. I have one teenage client right now.
That's amazing.
And then from mothers, people like whatever the struggle is, they're drawn to me and what my message is. And I've also learned that I don't need to have a perfect opt-in, a perfect sales funnel to make the money. Like, all I need to do for me, because I've really owned that I have a magnetic personality. I enjoy connecting with people. I go to parties. I go to Burning Man. I connect with people on the heart level, and naturally people want to know what I'm up to, and I share with them, and then they'll reach out to me after. So I've literally gotten clients from Burning Man.
I love it.
The Barney. When I follow a desire somewhere, my business works, and it's a struggle.
Yes. Okay. I love this so much. And I feel like for so many women, at least the women who are in my community, they might know this to be true deep down. Like if they follow their passions or their desires, they will achieve success or happiness. But it can be really hard for them to actually take action in that direction, because it's been so ingrained that like you have to do this, or like this equals success. So is there anything that you could, like any words of advice you could give those people who are like so deeply desiring to follow their own passions and their pleasure, but are scared shitless because they just don't know where to start and they're afraid that they're just going to fail?
Right. I know. So The first thing, that's the first advice I would give. One is to get quiet, like quiet enough to listen. So go to yoga, go somewhere that makes your soul come alive. Get out of business as usual and trying to get the right answer, because when we're stressed, that's what makes cortisol erupt in our brains, and that completely, it makes our creativity disappear. So the first thing you have to do is just enjoy your life, do something pleasurable so you can actually remember what it is you're up to. And then I've also noticed that when I have seen clients and friends of mine finally land in their zone of genius, like this is what they're truly up to, like hello, it was so obvious. It was always right in front of their nose. This is what they were talking about. These were the emails they were writing. This is what they were posting about. This is what they were reading about. And there's always a theme in there if you really just pay attention.
Ooh, I love that. That's amazing. And so moving on, what do you say? We're talking about success, but we didn't really define what that means for you, because I think that obviously there are so many different definitions, and I'd love to hear, what does success look and feel like for you, and how would you define it for yourself?
For me, it's when I'm making a vulnerable difference. Like that's it. Like when I know that the video that I have shared has touched someone's lives for the better, and they're going to make different choices because of what I shared. So a couple months ago, I posted a video on my core wound, like what that is and how I discovered it and why it's so important for us to distinguish what that is, because it makes or breaks who we are. And when it's a blind spot, it's going to run us. And that video, it totally went viral. My core wound is that I'm bad. But the nature of a core wound is that your core wound always introduces you to your greatest gift. And one of my gifts is seeing people's goodness. Like I can see everybody's goodness. That's what makes me an amazing coach. That's what makes me a great teacher. But I have a really hard time seeing my own. And when I shared this, I pretty vulnerably, and like the whole journey of being bad and what that created, I got messages from South Africa, from Amsterdam, from Canada, from Indonesia, from people that weren't even on my list saying, your video made such a big difference for me. Now I know what my core wound is, but most of all, I know what my greatest gift is. And I had no idea they were related. And they shared letters with me that they had written to their younger selves to help rewrite that story. And like, I have chills just remembering that, because that's all I care about, because that's what fulfills me. Yeah, and I don't even know if I made money from that video. I don't think I did. That wasn't the point. The point is that I am fulfilled.
Oh, I love it. That's so cool. And just to see like that ripple effect taking place is just so amazing. And I think that that's such a unique and different way to look at success. So thank you for sharing that. I love it. So a couple of things that I know people are curious about is knowing people's business models and like their marketing techniques and all that kind of stuff. So you have a business. Is there anything that you like feel, well, a couple questions here. First of all, can you explain your business model and how you go about marketing it? Even if it's not like the standard business model or standard marketing technique, I think that even just sharing your truth and being vulnerable, that's a marketing technique when it comes down to it. So what those are for you. And let's just start there. Okay. I get ahead of myself. There's so many things I want to ask.
So I'm very fortunate to work for a company called coreexperience.com. If you want to look it up, this is the company that introduced me to me. I did their workshop, Core Woman, years ago. And now I've taken over with one other person, their Core Woman workshop, which we lead 6 or 8 times a year all over the country. And with that, I'm very fortunate that I get to lead this 3.5-day retreat this weekend. And then oftentimes I'll get clients from there. And that definitely, like if I was just doing that, that would sustain me. And then I also offer private coaching. And the private coaching, I've gotten clients through a couple of sales funnels that I've created with Facebook ads. Like the most successful sales funnel I had was creating a webinar called Unstuck. So I just I videoed a webinar just sharing how to discover your soul message. Like really, what is that? And then below that video was a little sign up button for sign up for a discovery session if you want to get even more clear on what your soul message is. And I had that running while I was in Bali, worked like a charm. And I made like $9,000 from it. And I was in Bali for 6 weeks. So that was fantastic. Like using Google, but I haven't used a sales funnel like that since, because the truth is it wore me out a bit. I was putting a lot of energy into it, and but that worked. And every time I want to do that, it works. So one thing that's worked well for me too is I have a video. I work well on video. I have a video on my homepage. People see it. They sign up for my ebook. Great. We work together.
I love it.
A lot of my clients through word of mouth lately.
Yeah. And I love that too, because I think that we can complicate the process so much, and there's nothing wrong with sales funnels and all that fun stuff. But I feel like so many people feel like they need to like keep up with like all these crazy marketing techniques and tactics. And like, actually, sometimes when you make things more simple and you just come back to like being a human and connecting, that can be so powerful. So I love that you shared that. Amazing. And so when it comes to like 3 things or practices that are just totally non-negotiable for you and just your success and your fulfillment inside of your life and your business, what would those 3 practices be for you?
Oh, this is good. Okay. So when I'm disconnected from my body, my business suffers. So a non-negotiable for me is to stay connected to this physical body. Like we become so busy in the entrepreneurial journey that we oftentimes forget like, oh, is my body stiff? Am I hurting right now? So I make sure I'll have a dance break every day, or I'll not even a dance break, more of a putting on a song and letting any movement or sounds come out, because the woman is embodying her experience. That's when she becomes alive. So like, I'm talking like crazy sounds, screaming into a pillow like a wild woman. The other side of those expressed feelings or emotions, even crying, that's a way to connect with my body. That helps me wake up again. Yeah. Like I love this, the emotional release work that I offer my clients and that I offer myself. I find this to be so important because like women, when they're giving birth, I was studying to be a doula at one point. And I read all these stories of women who are feeling really stuck in the birthing process. And one woman, I'll never forget this. She was like, I think I just need to have a good cry. She was 3 centimeters dilated. Nothing was coming through. Like she was totally stuck. So then she had a huge cry. And after 5 minutes of crying, she was 10 centimeters dilated and she pushed her baby out in 20 minutes.
Oh my God. Amazing.
And I relate that to business. Sometimes we forget to feel our feelings and we avoid them or push them down and pretend like they're not there. And when we push those down, that's when that pain, that's when that sadness starts owning us. But when we just cry it out and feel it, the other side is, oh, freedom. That's who I am. Okay. So connecting with my body, emotions. That's number 1. 2, I talked about stillness and getting quiet. So meditation, I have to meditate in the morning. So I've been practicing and preaching meditation for a very long time. It wasn't until I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat at the beginning of this year in January that I finally got it. I was like, oh, whoa, I really, really need this. And it's just being able to sit for 20 minutes and allowing whatever is coming up. Allowing. And slowly but surely, after maybe 15 minutes, the stuff from your subconscious is going to come up. And then if you resist it, it's going to keep going around and around in circles. But if you allow it, it literally gets purified and transformed. And then those demons don't own you anymore. And so now that I get that distinction of just sitting and allowing and welcoming my experience, like the anxiety, even depression, worry, and just allowing it and feeling it in my body, that's when those feelings subside. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs thinking that meditation is like willing themselves to not think anything, like willing themselves to bliss. And I'm like, wait, no, that's an attachment. That's a thought.
Yes.
That.
Amazing. Love it.
When I don't meditate, I am completely fucked. I'm just going to put it out there. I used to be all over prescription medication. I used to take a lot of prescription medication before I did that workshop years ago. Now my meditation practice is my prescription medication. It's my Xanax.
Love it.
Okay. And then, so were these questions about like business, my non-negotiables in business? Or
life, like just in general? I mean, if you have more than 3, that's okay too. I just really want to hear like how you create the life and business that you are just so lit up about, and whatever it takes to get there.
Okay, so this is really, really good. So I brought this book out. This is Marianne Williamson's A Woman's Worth.
Yes.
And this is totally my Bible as a woman. And so just having something by my desk when I am working that I can turn to and I can open up to any page and I can immediately remember why I'm here, who I am, what I'm passionate about as a woman. Like it's just a reminder. Having that near me is very, very helpful because it just re-inspires me. I guess I'll give a fourth too.
Yes, do it.
So I've been in a relationship for 3 years. And he and I got blessed to be dating a web developer. Every woman entrepreneur's dream.
Yeah, right.
Well, guess what we discovered halfway through our relationship? Bad combo of us working together. Like I thought that, oh, great, web developer, you can build my website, you can do all this for me. But then slowly but surely, like our connection started fizzling because it just wasn't sexy to be talking. So I have a non-negotiable now where I only share what I'm really excited about with him. He doesn't help me with my business at all anymore. I get that support from others. So whether it's a VA, whether it's someone who's helped me, like I have new people who support me because I want to have fun with him.
I love that. That's amazing. And I know like, well, I mean, a lot of things that you hear is like, you know, retire your husband, like have him come work with you in your business. And that works really well for some people and it's amazing. But I love that, like, you tried that and you're like, nope, this is not going to work. So that's great. So don't mix business and pleasure for you or with your husband or boyfriend. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. And so just like looking into like a day of the life, what does like every day, do you have like certain things like a morning ritual that you always do at like 9 a.m. or is it just really flowing and whatever's coming up for you and whatever you're really interested in or curious about that day? Like, what does that look like for you? And I would just love a peek inside.
So my weeks are, so Mondays, every day I start with that 20 minutes of centering prayer meditation. That's what I use. It's called centering prayer. You should look it up. It's amazing. Thomas came up with it. And so I'll do that. I'll read some woman's worth or whatever is on my heart that day. Eat a good breakfast, whatever. Now I've discovered going to yoga is important for me to begin the day and not end the day. I just discovered this. But so Mondays are my writing day. That's when I get all of my newsletters done. I don't have clients that day. Tuesday is my big clients day. Wednesday is my kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do this day. And then Thursday is my day that's all about like my training day where I receive my own trainings and teachings from my mentors. And so that's when I focus on all the workshops that I'm leading and we're in a leadership training for that. And then Friday, nothing. I never have a client that day. And the weekends, I don't touch business on weekends.
I love that. So is that like another non-negotiable for you that like you don't touch business on the weekends or do you allow yourself to in like during, like, I don't know if you even launched right now or anymore, but like, how strict are you with these rules? I guess I'm curious about.
Okay, so I had a big launch last year, which it kind of destroyed my spirit. It was an exciting time, but I wound up going on vacation 2 weeks before this launch, and I couldn't enjoy my vacation in Kauai with my man because I was so focused on this launch. I couldn't just enjoy and receive, even though I had a team that I had hired who really helped me. So I'm very clear that when I'm launching something, yes, I will focus on it, but not on the weekends. I need to enjoy, and I'll negotiate. Like other people will help me with that, for example. But I don't even read client emails on the weekends.
That's amazing. And so, do you have those boundaries with your clients pre-established, saying like, "Hey, I'm available from these times to this time during these days, but weekends are like off." Do you have that, and are they aware of this?
Yes. So I have a big form that they fill out beforehand, and then all my rules and boundaries have been a big journey for me. At the beginning of coaching, I definitely didn't have strong boundaries, and I was very available, and that really waned on me, and it wasn't okay. And there have been some clients who need me more, and those aren't my ideal clients, I'm realizing, because I'm empowering my clients to be able to help themselves in those moments, so they don't actually need me to answer an email in 1 minute you know. So yeah, I'm very clear that I'm not available on weekends, but I'll get back to you on Monday, that kind of a thing.
Love it. Amazing. And what do you say?
It's been really helpful to just get those guidelines out there, not guidelines, those rules at the beginning. This is when I'm available, this is when I'm not, and there's no drama around it. Boom.
Yeah, boundaries are huge. And I feel like when I first started too, I was just like so available and felt so guilty if I like said I was going on vacation and wouldn't be near my email and like all these things. But oh my God, they're like such a lifesaver. And I really do agree that boundaries actually are important and they empower the client to really like go to themselves first, because I think we so often think that like, oh my God, I need an answer from like this authority or this guru or my coach, when really if you sit and you feel into the question, you have the answer already too in a lot of the cases. So I just know that being less available has allowed my clients to really discover the answers for themselves before feeling like they need to rely or come to me. So I love that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, no, it's so true though. Cool. So what other questions do I want to ask you? I feel like there's like so many different things. What do you do for fun? Like let's get away from business for a little bit here and let's go into like your life. What does that look like for you? How many hours are you actually, one last work thing, how many hours do you typically work a week? And then on with the other hours, what do you do with those hours?
I know. So it depends on if I'm launching, right?
Mm-hmm.
But these days, the main focus that I've been focusing on is actually writing a book and preparing my speaking. So like, because that's not a part of my business model yet, but I have a lot to say. I've written so much, and it's time for me to get this out there. So that's when I'll reach my real peak, I'd say, is once I'm on a book tour. So a lot of my work is writing during the week. So I'll spend like 10 hours a week writing. And then however many clients I have anywhere from 10 hours of clients to 5 hours of clients a week, which is beautiful. My business plan works well because they'll pay a package and then boom, we've got this, and then they'll sign up for more, whatever, drama free. And then let's see, but when I'm launching, like I still have to find the secret sauce there, because that's when I'm working a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't have as good of boundaries at night, and I'll be like working through dinner.
I feel you. Yeah, no, I think that, oh my God, launching has been, I've learned a lot from launching about myself and how I want to run a business and all these things. With every launch, I just feel like it's such an interesting growth experience too. And I realize like what I am available for and what I'm not available for. And yeah, and so like as I step into like this next evolution of my business, like I know that like I am not available for like working those like, those be like 18-hour days, like sometimes, like, or like craziness. Like that's just not okay. And so I'm curious to know with you, is there anything as you look forwards and you really see your ideal business and life that you're like, okay, this needs to be left behind and I need to like step into this space instead?
Yes. So what needs to be left behind is me trying to do everything on my own. Like it's been very hard for me to delegate, even though I so want to do that. But there's such an art and formula to this that, I mean, it's not a formula, but I've made so many mistakes in this realm. So like in the past, I would really hope that my VAs that I had hired or anybody else who I hired on my team could just read my mind and do everything that I need. And I've gotten in a lot of trouble for that. So now it's just getting very, very clear and stepping into the CEO mindset of how to empower them, be very, very clear with what I need, and then receive and let go and not micromanage them and just like let it happen.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking to like a control freak over here. So I completely get it. And luckily I have such an incredible team now who like are always reminding like, do you need to be doing this? I'm like, no, I don't. You're right. Like, okay, like let it go. Yeah, my project managers are amazing for that. So it's always good to have people on your team reminding you that you actually don't have to be the one doing that. And I've come to really love and appreciate delegating when it was such a struggle for me in the past. So that's definitely a huge one. And I know we were talking about life stuff, but I'm curious about something else. What are like 3 big mistakes that you feel like you've made inside of your business, and maybe some learning lessons from that?
Yeah. So one was like when I first started, this was before I even hired a business coach. This is when I just began. I was like, oh, how do I make a website? What should I put on this? So I started looking at other coaches that I knew. I looked at their websites. I'm like, oh, so that's how you write about what you do. And I started copy pasting and then putting it in a Google Doc and then rewriting it. Oh yeah, so that's me. That's me as a coach. And then slowly but surely I was just like, oh shit, that's not a good sign. And so it was beautiful because I actually went back and got to tell those coaches, because they became close mentors of mine, and they helped me see how much healing I had to do around trusting my own inner wisdom and my own voice, so I don't have to copy others. So that was a big one. And so thanks to that, I now know that anytime I'm receiving emails from coaches or entrepreneurs that I really trust and admire, and I start seeing like, oh, that's a good direction to go in, maybe I should do that, I'm like, no. And that's when I let myself go on a cleanse. And I'm actually in a cleanse right now. I call a cleanse not opening emails from any other entrepreneurs in the community that I will compare myself to, because I need my own truth to be able to come through.
Oh, I love that. It's so important. And I feel like, I don't know, a lot of people I've spoken to at least have dealt with this, and myself. Like, I literally was trying to emulate other people because I was like, oh, they look like they're successful. They've got it on. Got it going on. I'll just do what they're doing. And I was forcing myself to speak in a certain way that was so not me. And I was just like very proper and polite, which is like not my style at all. And it was awkward, and no one cared because it was boring, and I was trying to be somebody else when I had no business doing that. So I love that mistake, but also a learning lesson.
I know.
Any other big ones for you?
Yeah, well, like when I chose to go the business coaching route, that was because I thought that would make me money. Like that was what was in the back of my head. Like, this will be the easiest way to make money. And that alone is a big red flag, because trying to make money doesn't align with my purpose in the world, to help women become more vulnerable and free. Like, that's not it at all. And so I started going down that route of writing what I thought I was supposed to write. And I started losing myself in the process. And when I let that go, that's when all my creativity came back. And I got to remember who I really am. And that mistake was really important, because I grew so much. I mean, I don't know if you've had to do this. I think you have, but where you write to your whole list saying, oh, by the way, this isn't who I truly am. I'm going to go in this direction now. And then
like many times.
Yeah. It's a learning experience.
No, it totally is. And I think that so many people too, like that's like a huge myth that I hear people saying. It's like, oh, business coaches are the only ones to make the money too, which is such bullshit. And whenever any of my clients, like, I think we can get off track and we can see these shiny objects and start to compare ourselves. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, well, should I be doing this? Like, is this the route that I need to be going? And it's like, if you're not lit up by it and you're not so fucking excited to wake up in the morning and dive in and really embody like whatever it is that you're teaching, no, it's not going to work. So yeah, I mean, I've been through that lesson like a couple times myself, and it's enlightening to say the least.
I know. And maybe this next piece, I don't know if it's definitely a mistake, but this is just something that I live by, that I see a lot of women not living by this. And so I've made my inner work and my transformation like my number one priority in my business. So like, I have so much support for my emotional well-being. I have a Reiki master, I have a chiropractor, but he's a mix of like big time healer of the highest good, couples therapist. Even though my boyfriend and I don't even necessarily have problems, we just have that third like partner that we can shoot our ideas off of, who helps us communicate. And then I have my own personal therapist and my own personal coach. And because of all the inner healing that I've been able to do, it's made me more available and more open to hold the space for others. And there was a time when I wasn't getting that kind of support, where I was just so focused on business, investing in everything that was a money-making activity, Facebook ads, whatever. And I forgot about my inner work. And that's when nothing worked.
Yeah.
So I believe the inner work is probably it is your foundation. Because if you're not solid in your own heart and in your own spirit, how are you going to provide for your clients? And how are you going to create something that's really authentic and real? Because like for me in my, because I'm a women's empowerment coach and I focus on so much of life, like what happens behind the business, my inner healing is actually, they're great lessons that I get to share with my community. Like I got to learn, like there was this one big piece I'm going to be sharing about later. But I learned in a healing session with my coach a couple weeks ago that the night that I was sexually abused, that I was raped, that was actually the last time I ever set up a really healthy boundary. Like I actually told the guy, I was like, hey, I found out you have a girlfriend. This isn't going to happen. I set up a boundary with him. And then he roofied me and did what he did with me. And I realized after that, like for 10 years, I had really unhealthy boundaries and I didn't know how to say no. I would allow things to happen. It really scared me, but it's because I had this experience in my body that said, you will get punished. Like you will get really hurt if you set up a boundary. So now I get to share that with my community and it's beautiful and I don't have any shame around it. And it makes me a better coach.
Oh, I love that so much. And actually one of the next questions I was going to ask you was about like something that you've been afraid to share or truth of yours that you've been nervous to share with your community or like the world and why you're ready to share it now. And I feel like that might be part of it. But is there anything else that you want to like add to that?
Yeah, so that's a great segue. So just a couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you watched the series 13 Reasons Why.
Yes, I did.
Okay, did it bring up shit for you?
I mean, it was really hard to watch. I thought it was, I had like mixed feelings about it, to be completely honest, because I think that for the most part, the message of like, you know, really treating other people with like love and respect and like being nice to everybody, like that's great. And I can also see like how like, yeah, it did romanticize like suicide in some ways. And I don't know, I'm definitely torn, but I think it's a really interesting show to have a conversation around and at least like get talking about it rather than keep it in the dark and be so like private about these things.
Yes, I agree. I have mixed feelings about this as well. So the show reminded me of all these things that happened to me in high school that I wasn't even aware of, like had a really big impact on me.
Yeah.
And because part of my value system is being vulnerable and telling the truth. I had been doing a ton of healing with my different coaches and healers over the past month around my sexuality. But for some reason, I've never felt, I don't know if it's safe, or comfortable or had the courage to share about my sexuality and like, you know, like my sexual expression online. Like my biggest fear was like, listen, my parents are on Facebook. They're going to see what I'm posting. I have cousins who are on Facebook. There's so many people. There's people from high school. There's ex-boyfriends' mothers on Facebook who will probably see this. What will happen here? But I was just like, you know what? It's time for me to share and really take back those nights, because for me, like it's a reparative experience. So I decided to share about two big things that happened in high school. And this was inspired by 13 Reasons Why. So one was like a cop catching me in the back of a car. And another time was me and my high school boyfriend. We were having sex and it was really safe. And I waited until I was ready and it was at a party, but there were guys outside watching us. Oh. And then I told the whole school about it. But that story never got resolved. It never got healed. I never really talked about it again. I just knew that I got really slut shamed for it.
Yeah.
And so like after watching the show, I'm like, oh my God, wait, that's like not okay that happened. So I did my own, I call it maiden healing, where maiden is the archetype of the teenager. And so I've been doing this work with myself, because I do this with my clients, of going back in time and writing a new story for that teenager who is just in this time of puberty and learning to be curious in her sexuality and her expression, and letting that time be okay. Like, even that she was being watched, like, it's okay, because there was all this sweetness that she was just learning to trust and awaken for the first time. And so something integrated inside of myself after writing that new story for her. And I'm like, fuck, I'm going to share this online. And it took me a very, very long time to do this. But what I did was I reached out to like my champions in my community. So like best friends, other entrepreneurs. And I was just like, I'm about to post something really vulnerable about my sexuality. Would you be willing to like it? Would you be willing to comment on it and just share your experience? And that post, along with the teaching of how to go back in time and heal your own maiden or your own teenage story, has just erupted in the best possible way. I have gotten so many emails and messages from people from my high school. My ex-boyfriend's mom reached out to me in a really loving way, and we got to have a really reparative experience. And now I have my high school, like teachers from my high school actually reaching out to me being like, we want you to come back to our high school and hold sharing circles for women to talk about these things.
I feel like it's so emotional. It's amazing.
I know. And because I didn't have that. A lot of us didn't have that in high school. So because I followed my truth, I followed that tug that told me, post this, be vulnerable. Now it's having this ripple effect, and my purpose is getting bigger than I could have possibly imagined. And I'm going back to the high school space now.
So cool. And I don't know how I missed this post on the internet, but I have to go back and check it all out. But that is just so incredible. And it's such a beautiful example of how when we're able to share more of our truth and really fully express ourselves, it invites others to do the same. And I just think that's just such a beautiful share. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. Amazing. So I could sit here and talk to you forever, but I'd love to just wrap this up. And is there anything that you want to share that we didn't get to cover so far? We have a few more minutes. So if there's anything that you want to like touch upon, I'd be more than happy to do that. But if not, also, where can people find you and really experience more of your magic?
Yeah, well, what I just want to share with everybody is to trust your process. Wherever you're at right now is where you are meant to be. Sometimes forcing your way out of a struggle is not the answer. Like, let the struggle teach you. Really allow it. Feel the fear, feel the anxiety, feel the pain of like the unknown. Because when we can really sit with that, that is when the magic happens. That's when who you really are comes through. Because when we search outside ourselves for answers, we're going to get other people's answers, not our own. So just keep trusting yourself. And I just really want to thank you if you have been on today, or if you've heard my story, thank you so much, because it's taken me a long time to be able to share everything I'm sharing so easily. So thanks for being so safe.
Yay, I love it. And I love you. And so where can people find more of you?
You can find me at chrissybrady-smith.com and just type in Chrissy Brady-Smith on Facebook. You'll see my Facebook page. And then I lead a workshop called Core Woman, CORWOMAN. And core stands for heart in Latin. We just do the work of the heart for women. And that's like my biggest passion. It's leading that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your truth, for getting real with us. And it was such a pleasure to have you as our first guest on the show. So thank you, Chrissy.
50 Shades of Truth.
Woo woo! All right, bye everybody.